This morning we're starting a new sermon series, and I want you to know that this sermon series is, obviously it's called Grudge Match, and it's about all the different areas in our lives that can create grudges of some kind or another. And so we're going to talk about family relationships and dynamics. We're going to talk about personal struggles that you have. Some of us have a grudge with self. Some of us have grudges with others, people that have done things to us in years past. Some people that I know that I've ministered to in the last hours of their life are still dealing with a grudge that happened decades ago. Like it's astounding to me how long people hold on to things, and then I consider my own life and the things that I've gone through and the things that I've experienced and recognize that in my own life I need to deal with the same issue. And so it's going to seem awfully convenient that I'm talking about a grudge match as the political tension in our country is beginning to increase. Now, I want you to know right away, all right, the closest I'm going to get is saying political, because I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to cause fights. The last thing we need is a battle within this building. You know, speaking of grudges, I was watching a couple of years ago, there was a church having a business meeting. No lie. There was a church having a business meeting. There was a difference of opinion, and it literally erupted into a physical fight. Crazy stuff. That's not the kind of stuff that happens at our business meetings, all right? Anyway, so this morning, though, we're going to start it off real light and easy. Titling this one, I'm Offended. How many of you guys have ever been offended? All right. How many of you guys are offended right now? By something you read this morning on social media, or something that somebody said to you, or something or another, or whatever. You're offended. My wife says it this way. We live in a culture that is chronic in offense. Like she says, we are chronically offended. It's like a chronic condition. It's like an illness that we are just constantly agitated, irritated, frustrated. Okay, so it is 5:45 in the morning this last week, and I am doing my morning ritual, getting ready for work, and I hear it's common for my son to shout things in the night or in the early part of the morning. He just dreams like that. But I'm sitting, I finished my workout, I'm sitting on the floor, typing a few things on my laptop, and all of a sudden I hear, "I told you I hate musicals." Okay. This has been a topic of conversation, which is crazy to me because Joseph does like some musicals. I mean, he does. I don't know if you guys remember the Newsies. Have you guys ever seen the Newsies? That's like an older one. I love that. Anyway, so he shouts out, "I hate musicals. I told you I hate musicals." You talk about a grudge. The kid gets frustrated. How many of you guys have experienced in the early stages of your life grudges within your sibling experience? Are you going to finally let that go? Seriously. Okay, anyway. All right, so just to start this off, we are living in an age of perpetual offense, and it's always growing and gaining momentum. It's just constant. It's constant. It's not just like a one-time thing. It's not just a one-time situation. It is something that's gaining momentum. It is something that's growing. With each offense, we get more offended. And with each being more offended, we get even more offended. It could be this compounding issue. You ever get offended with someone or something and realize that you are contributing to that person a simple offense, something that someone did that was maybe a bit bigger? It's this compounding effect. You're driving down the road and someone at home or another circumstance or a situation, somebody's been offending you quite a bit and you're just straight agitated. Somebody cuts you off in traffic and you lose your mind. You lose your mind. It could be at the traffic circle here in Lancaster. I know. Seriously. And someone's just going around and you're like, "Why are you slowing down? Why are you stopping? Why?" And you're just suddenly veins are... It's never happened to me, I promise. Anyway. But we are living in a perpetual state of offense in our culture. And here's the other truth, okay? Listen to this. Here's the other truth. Offense is evolutionary. It adapts to the negative surroundings that it chooses to make its habitat. Okay, let that sink in for a minute, okay? Offense is evolutionary. It is something that changes. It's something that adapts. It's something that becomes familiar with its environment and its surroundings, and it begins to grow and change when it's nurtured in whatever habitat it is in. Now, I know that not everybody in this room is on social media, but social media seems to be a habitat in which we exist in. And within that habitat that we exist in, there is an evolution that happens with our offense. Well, I'm going to share this post, or I'm going to share this post, or I'm going to say this, or I'm going to speak about this. I don't care who gets offended. I'm offended that they're offended. Because they shouldn't be offended that I'm offended, right? I mean, like it's this constant, thing that just goes over and over and over again. And it is crazy to me because a grudge could be something of such a simple, little detail of our life. And sadly, the most insignificant things can carry the same weight as the things that are most grievous. The most insignificant of things can carry the same weight as the things that are most grievous. Like somebody really, really deeply, deeply, deeply wounds you. Like something has happened, and it is an offense of all offenses, and it wounds you. You are hurt. You are left gaping wide open and broken, and it is painful. And then somebody does something so minor, and we attribute the same pain and suffering that's happened from a family situation or a marital issue or an issue with our parents or our children. There is something very grievous that's happened. It is painful. And we give that small, that little, that insignificant offense, we give that insignificant offense the same power and the same pain as that big deal. Here's the truth. And this is simple, but you find what you're looking for. You find what you're looking for. You just do. It's just something that happens. Like, I know we don't wake up and say, I'm going to be offended today, but it's actually just kind of like a part of our unfortunate existence right now. We're just living in this chronic state. Like my wife says it. It's a chronic condition. Like I'm going to be offended today. I'm going to be offended today. Why are you going to be offended today? I don't know. Something's going to be said. Something's going to happen. Someone is going to look at me a certain way. Who cares if there was a booger in their nose that they were trying to do something with so they didn't have to pick their nose? I know that's kind of weird, but they gave you a dirty look, and it's like something that's totally not related to you. It just looks like they gave you a dirty look, and you're like, oh, I see how it is. I see how it is. You're offended by my presence. Well, I'm offended by your face. Like, yeah. Right. You're going to find what you're looking for. And every single thing that is said and done personally and impersonally. Here's the crazy thing. Let me finish this statement. Is subject to interpretation. The problem is we are horrible interpreters. Now, within that, personal and impersonal. Personally and impersonally. Okay? Like an offense could be personal. Like somebody said something to you. It is directed at you. It's something said about you. Specifically you. And you're like, man, that offends me. That hurts. That's messed up. And then there are things that are not directly connected to you that offend you. They have nothing to do with you. You're just offended about it. That's not okay. That's mean. That's rude. That's disrespectful. And it's not even something that is said to you. It's not even about you, but you make it about you. You make it your problem even though it's not your problem. You guys grabbing what I'm saying here? And I know like a lot of us in this room, myself included, are like, well, that's their problem, not mine. Right? Got quiet for a minute. That's their problem, not mine, because they're offended. I have a right to be offended. They're offended. All right, so let me say it like this, okay? I want you guys to hear this statement, and then I will make sense of it, because it took me a minute to make sense of it. But there's a fundamental attribution error, okay? Listen to this. The bias to attribute our own behavior to our circumstances while attributing someone else's actions to their character. For example, if someone did something to disappoint you, then there's something wrong with them. If you did something to disappoint someone else, well, there's a reason. I didn't mean it. It wasn't, it wasn't my fault. It was an accident, or I didn't do it on purpose. Something happened and it just kind of slipped out. It wasn't on purpose. But like if somebody does something to offend you, you better believe, man, their character's messed up. There's something wrong with them. I can't believe that they would say that. I can't believe they would do that. I can't believe that they would do something like that to me when actually they are not really that responsible for the interaction that happened. Now, for you, it's like, oh, well, it was circumstance, right? Like that definition, it's an attribute, or we attribute our own behavior to our circumstances. I couldn't help it. It was something in the environment, something in the circumstance that caused this to happen. But when somebody else does something, it's their fault. If I did something to disappoint you, there's an excusable reason. There's like, I disappointed you, well, I got an excuse for that. But if someone else did something to offend you, or someone hurt you or disappointed you, that they're terrible. Their integrity is bad. There's something wrong with them. You see what I'm saying here? There's this issue that we have. Here's an example, okay? Driving down the road, I know that there's not a tremendous amount of traffic in Lancaster, but let's just say that you're heading down south to go to the city or whatever, and you're on your way, and you're driving, and you cut somebody off. They're laying on the horn, they're driving by, calling you number one, take it as you want, and you're just like, whoa, like chill out, I didn't see you were in the blind spot, right? Now somebody cuts you off. Look at that driver. I cannot believe that somebody gave them a license. I mean, what are they in, like some kind of serious hurry? Where are they going? What are they doing? What's wrong with them? And we immediately attribute their behavior in a vehicle as if they are the dumbest driver existent on the road. Like, how could you drive when they are probably just as guilty as you are? Or you're the bad driver. Woo. Sorry if I offended you. Sorry about that. All right. There's some funny things floating around on social media. Let me just read a couple increasing cynical statements about being offended. All right. I would like to apologize to anyone I have not offended. Please be patient. I will get to you shortly. All right. So I'm offended that you're offended by taking offense at your offensiveness. Well, I'm offended that you're offended. Now we're even. All right. I like the first one better too. Anyway, there is an issue. There is a struggle. And here's what happens, okay? There is a gap, if you will, between an action and a reaction. There's a gap between an action and a reaction. If I could put it together in an equation, it would look like this. There's action plus something that creates a reaction. There's an action plus something that creates a reaction of some kind. There is an action, all right, plus another action that, it's a personal thing. It's something that's going on within you. Or, all right, it could be a plus. It could also be a multiplier. Now, I was thinking about this for a minute. I was reading this online. I was looking at different things and studying this idea, this concept that like action plus something in your heart, like something that's going on inside of you, something that exists within you. There's an action plus whatever that is, and it's the reaction. But the truth is sometimes it's not always an addition sign. Sometimes it's a multiplier. Sometimes somebody does something and there is an exponential increase of whatever you're feeling inside, and it just comes lunging out of you with force. It's just like it suddenly comes flooding out of you, and you're just like, whoa. Somebody triggered something. For some of us, it could actually be a trauma-related response. Like something happened to us, something negative, something horrible, something sad, and something broken about us. It happened to us. And as a result of that thing happening to us, we responded because it's something that triggered something in us. For others of us, it could be other things that exist within us. Other things that exist within us. What exists in that gap? Anger, hatred, envy, aggression, jealousy, bitterness, pain, fear. What exists within that gap? What is it that exists there? What is the problem that you are holding on to? What is it that you allow to be a part of that equation? Somebody does something. and it is not even with the intent to offend you. And you have bitterness in your heart. So you immediately attribute that person's actions to something that made you bitter in the past. And what happens is you're bitter about something else. They did something totally unrelated, and you apply that bitterness that you're already feeling to their action. You apply the envy or the jealousy or the hate, the rage that you're feeling towards other circumstances or other situations to that person or to that event or to that situation. I cannot count the amount of times something has been posted on social media and somebody responds to it in the comment line. You're like, whoa, that was totally overkill. Like, why would you say that? Why would you say that? Or, what's in the gap? Is it hope? Is it mercy? Is it grace? Is it peace, patience? Is it forgiveness? Is it faith? Is it freedom? Is it love? You see, the truth is people hurt people. It's that simple. It's that complex. It's that simple. It's that complex. Now, there's a statement that's been floating around that I've heard a lot, and it says, hurting people hurt people. That's true. That's true. But people who aren't hurting hurt people. We say, oh, I've been wounded by somebody, so that person, is hurting, so that's the reason they wounded me. Well, the truth is sometimes you don't have to be wounded to wound someone. Why? Because you are just as messed up as the next person. Why? Because we are sinful, we are broken, and we allow ourselves to be lured to respond with the flesh. And so, you could be just walking a steady and healthy and things are going well, and someone does something and then something just comes out of you. And you're in a good place. You're in a good place, but you hurt somebody. You hurt somebody. It's that simple. It's that complex. And here we are. We stand our ground in our grudge, and we wait for someone else to change. We're not going to change. It's not our problem. It's theirs. But if we want things to be different, we need to be different. We will begin winning the grudge match when we learn to forfeit our grudge. It looks like losing, but it's not. It's where victory lives. Seriously. I know that I am giving a lot of weight to offense, but the truth is that people in our society and other societies are giving a lot of weight to offense. And the beginning stages of freedom, we stand and we're like, I'm not going to do anything. That person's got to change. I have a right to be offended. They don't have a right to be offended, so they better do something about it. They better change something. They better change themselves. They better do something to change the way they are, the way they interact, or the way they're acting. I'm not letting down. I'm going to die on this hill. I don't care if the toilet paper should be rolled that way. Right? I've been folding pants a certain way for a long time. You better believe that about 10 years ago, I started folding them different. All right? Why? Because somebody had to let go of the grudge. But seriously, we will begin to find out over and over and over and over and over and over again that victory lies within surrender. It looks like a forfeit, but we surrender our grudge. We release our grudge, and we will find out that we ourselves are released from whatever prison it has put us in. Proverbs 19:11 says this, a person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. Another translation, it says this way, a wise person demonstrates patience, for mercy means holding your tongue. And when you are insulted, be quick to forgive and forget it. For you are virtuous when you overlook an offense. So again, the question remains, what's in the gap? What's in the gap? What exists there? And this is going to be a simple word. You're going to be like, of course, Pastor, that's, whatever. But action plus love should equal the reaction. Action plus love. Not cultural definitions of love. And even better, action multiplied with love. An action that's multiplied. Love multiplied creates that reaction. In Proverbs 17:9, it says, whoever would foster love covers over an offense, But whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. We've got to foster. We've got to increase. We've got to develop. We've got to expand. We've got to, just create this environment where every action that happens is immediately seen through the lens of love. People can do awful things to you. They can do awful things to you. And when you do something about it and you add love, you will find over and over again. And it's amazing and it's astounding to me. But freedom not only affects your life, it affects theirs. Oh, man. The amount of times in my marriage that I have done something, the amount of times in being a father that I have done something, the amount of times that someone has done something to me where an action was committed and I said, you know what, I'm going to add love to this moment and watch as it transforms my life. It's going to change my reaction. In Ephesians 4:2, it says, be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Our response to offense, little or big, reveals what exists in our heart. Luke 6:45 tells us, a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, right? An evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Now there is at times, there is a dam that we have placed in front of that torrential thing that we are trying to hold back, but sometimes the dam breaks, and it breaks wide open, and there are things that just come gushing out of our mouth, outside of us, and it is a revelation, a clear revelation of what is in here. You see, when you respond to an offense, when you do something wrong, all right, when you do something wrong yourself, when somebody hurts you or you hurt somebody else, the thing that comes out into the open is a revelation of what's in here, what exists in here. We've got to be very, very cognizant of what's in our hearts and what's developing in our hearts. And yes, at times, you may keep your mouth closed, but it's your face that needs deliverance. My wife has said that many times. I've said that to my wife many times. Thankfully, she is very compassionate. But seriously, it's like somebody says something, and you're just like, and when that revelation comes to you and you realize that there is something existent within your heart that is being revealed by your response to a little or big offense, you need to begin to address it. You need to deal with it. When you begin to fill those gaps with love, we will see and experience tangible proof that God's Spirit is at work in our life, that God's at work within our life. You see, our response to offense reveals how amazing Jesus is. And that's what I want you to grab this morning. At the end of this morning, that's what I want you to grab. Our response to offense reveals how amazing Jesus is. How many times in your life up to this point should Jesus be offended with you? Too many to count, right? Too many to count. Like, if you were to tally them and stack them, like, you would not even begin to realize. Many of us don't even know the things that we've done, the things that we've said, the things that have come out of our mouth that are very, very, very offensive to the creator of the universe. And when we offend, or when we are offended, our response to being offended, our response to offense reveals how amazing Jesus is. In 1 John 4:19 through 21, it says this: we love because he first loved us. Verse 20, whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God, whom they have not seen. And he has given us a command. Anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister. You see, what is this getting at? Hey, look, if you don't love someone, If you don't love someone, no matter what, if you don't love somebody, no matter what they do to you, that means that you cannot claim that the love of God exists within you. And it is sad, but true, that some of the greatest offenses in our life happen within our experience in the church. It's just that real. I have been offended by people. People have been offended by me. There have been wounds that have resulted. There have been offenses that have been great. There have been offenses that have been small. And they have been capitalized on by the enemy. And it has devastated churches for generations. For generations. I was looking on, again, looking back towards social media. I was looking on social media, and one of the pastors that belong to this, there's private groups that you can talk back and forth. I belong to a couple of pastor groups, but there was this pastor who was having a struggle because he had come into a massive donation from another church. Another church donated them a bunch of chairs, but people within his church were being negatively affected by the possibility that pews were going to be moved out of their sanctuary. You're like, what? That's crazy. But like, seriously, that's something that is rooted within somebody. It may not be the pews that are the issue. It may be an offense of some other kind. It may be something that's going on within them that is attached to something else. But I do know that within the church, within this own building at times, there are things that have happened between individuals that have created an offense. Some of those things have been big. Like, it's been a big deal. Other things, it's like minor. And we hold on to it. We walk around with a grudge. Like, we don't even look at them. We're like, that's fine. I'm going to sit on the opposite side. Don't look on the other side and say, who's offended with me? Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But, like, I'm not going to look at them. I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to deal with them. I'm going to dodge them in the grocery store. Like, you know what I'm talking about. You're at Walmart. You see somebody, and then they vanish. You're like, where'd it go? Where'd they go? Because I know it wasn't the rapture because they're messed up. Right? And you're just like, suddenly they're like nowhere to be found. And you know that you've been in that place before too. Like, you would be surprised how well you are able to hide when you don't want to be seen by somebody that offended you or that you offended. But you better believe that the scripture is true in 1 John 4:19, that our love is something that happens within us, right? We love because he first loved us. Jesus loved you, and you are offensive. You are offensive to him in every single way. Every single sin that you committed, every single sin that you commit is offensive to God. But Jesus stood in the gap with love. And he multiplied that love, and he increased that love so that your greatest offenses are forgiven. Why not offer that to other people? Am I asking you to willingly engage in toxic relationships because you are forgiving somebody of an offense? No, I'm not telling you to do that. But what I am telling you to do is to let it go, to get over it. I know that there are some things that have deeply wounded you, but I tell you right now, you keep holding on to that thing, you're going to become a prisoner of that thing. You keep holding on to that thing, you're going to become a prisoner of that thing. It's astounding to me. Like when I talk about this, when I think of this, like somebody hurt you and you're like, that's not going to affect me. And you consider, or you continue to think about it, you dwell on it, you concentrate on it, you focus on it. You allow that offense, you allow that hurt to continue to have its power over your life. You give it space to exist within your mind. The more you say, that's not going to bother me, I'm pushing it away, the more that thing, the more that situation, the more that event has power over your life. What are you going to do? And two last questions here. What have you put in the gap that exists between the action and the reaction? What have you put there? And how will you intentionally fill the gap with love? What have you put there? What have you put there? Some of us are angry. And the Bible says that, it doesn't say that we can't be angry. It says, do not sin in our anger. But some of us are really good at sinning in our anger. We get mad and we take it out on our children. We take it out on our spouse, or we take it out on our parents or something. We just, like somebody does something to offend us, and we just immediately just start blurting stuff out because anger exists within us. A different, a bad, an evil kind of anger. Or like envy, jealousy, whatever it is, whatever, sinful attribute exists within you. Somebody hurts you, and what comes out? What are you going to do with the gap? What have you put there? What have you put there? Because I tell you right now, we may think that we have added love every single time in every single circumstance in every single issue, but I tell you right now, there are many moments in our life that we have not put love there. We put some pretty seriously ugly things there, and it has damaged our relationships, it has damaged our friendships, it has broken apart our families. It has broken apart our families. How many times I have sat down and counseled a couple or counseled a family and saw as a moment that happened 15 years ago that they don't even remember what it was, is continuing to negatively affect them. And how can you more intentionally fill that gap with love? That's a Jesus thing, because love is hard. I know, like, for some of you it comes easy, but it's not. It's not easy. It's not easy to say, okay, I'm going to multiply love in my reaction to someone else's action towards me. I'm going to multiply love in my response. Because some of us, man, we want to rage out when somebody offends us. And it could be, it's social media. I know that's as an example, but like you say the word politics and people are headed to the ring. They're like, let's go. Gloves off and everything. Let's box this out. But others of us, we've experienced things so awful, so horrible. Somebody says high school, and we're ready to go. Some of us hear the word family, and we're ready to go. Some of us hear a sibling's name or a parent's name or a situation of some kind, and we're ready to go. Some of us hear a song on the radio. It's on. Seriously. How are we going to fill that gap with love? Because I will tell you over and over and over and over and over again that the situation will land entirely differently when you fill that gap with love. It may never change that person, but it'll change you. They may not be free, but you will be. You will be. They may still be crippled by that hate and anger and all that ugliness that exists. But you'll be able to lay your head down at night and say, I have not allowed this grudge to become a firm root in my life that I can't seem to dig up. And I tell you guys, I've been hurt, you've been hurt. We've all been there. We've all been there. Jesus, I thank you so much for today. Father, I pray right now that we would consider, Father, the things that we fill that gap with. Lord, that you would help us, that you would convict us, yes, of all the corrupt, the ugly things that exist within us that we attach to an action that creates an awful reaction. And Lord, that we would begin to extract those things, that we would recognize them for what they are, that we would take notice of them, that we would ask you in faith and hope and all that you are, God, to help us to pull those things out of our lives and find the strength to insert love. Jesus, you could be so very offended with us. God, indeed, you are offended with us, but you allowed your Son to come and to lay his life down for us. Jesus Christ, you took every single offense that we ever committed upon yourself. And you loved us first. Lord, give us the strength and the courage and the stamina even to continue to fill the gap with love. That our relationships with our coworkers, our families, our friends, that our presence on social media and other places that affects the witness of who you are in our lives would begin to change. And in our actions, our responses, people would recognize just how amazing you are, Jesus. Amen.